What God said would happen is happening. Life is a battleground, not a playground. Every day we stand at the crossroads of chaos and order, wrestling with uncertainty, with suffering, with the weight of existence itself. And yet, if we dare to look beyond the veil of fear and confusion, we find something astonishing. The victory has already been written. The outcome is not in question. The story has already been told, and in the end, good prevails. That truth should shake you to your core, not in fear, but in unshakable confidence. You are not wandering aimlessly through life. You are not at the mercy of chance. You are part of something far greater, and that knowledge alone should change the way you stand, the way you speak, the way you face the trials ahead. Think about this. How would you live if you knew with absolute certainty that in the end you win? How would you fight if you understood deep in your bones that no enemy, no obstacle, no suffering could undo the final victory? Fear would lose its grip on you. Despair would vanish like mist in the morning sun. You would walk forward even through fire because you would know that fire is not the end of the story. You would endure heartbreak, setbacks, rejection, and loss, not because they don't hurt, but because they don't have the final word. That is what Revelation teaches us. That is the unshakable truth written into the fabric of existence. People crumble under the weight of suffering because they believe suffering is meaningless. They stand at the edge of hardship and say, why bother? What if I fail? What if the pain is too great? But what if I told you that failure is not the conclusion? That hardship is not the enemy, but the refiner's fire. You don't build resilience by avoiding struggle. You don't become strong by staying comfortable. Strength is forged in adversity, in perseverance, in facing down the darkness and saying, you will not have me. That's the difference between those who live in fear and those who live in faith. The fearful see obstacles as the end of the road. The faithful see them as part of the journey. We live in an age where people are paralyzed by uncertainty. They don't move forward because they don't know what's on the other side. They hesitate, they second guess, they wait for a guarantee before they take action. But the truth is, the greatest things in life require a leap of faith. They require courage. They require the belief that even when you can't see the whole staircase, you take the first step anyway. And here's the thing. You don't need to know every detail of the battle to know how it ends. You just need to know that victory is assured. And if you believe that, truly believe it, then hesitation becomes impossible. Because when you know you cannot lose, why would you not fight? There's a passage that echoes through time. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. That is not a suggestion. That is not a polite encouragement. That is a command. Strength is not an option. Courage is not optional. They are the foundation of who you must become. And why? Because fear is a thief. Fear will rob you of your destiny if you let it. Fear will convince you to shrink when you were meant to stand tall. Fear will tell you that you are powerless, that you are alone, that the darkness is stronger than the light. But it is a lie. And the only way to defeat a lie is to drown it in truth. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you lived with the confidence that the victory has already been secured? Would you chase your dreams without hesitation? Would you love fearlessly, knowing that rejection cannot truly harm you? Would you endure hardship with the patience of a warrior, understanding that the battle may be long, but the outcome is set? That's the kind of person the world needs. Not someone who cowers at the first sign of struggle, not someone who gives up when things get hard, but someone who stands firm, who refuses to bend, who declares with absolute certainty, I will not be defeated. Because here's the truth. There will be pain. There will be loss. There will be days when you feel like the weight of the world is pressing down on you, but there will never be a moment when you are truly alone. There will never be a moment when hope is lost. The victory has been written, and it cannot be erased. The darkness may rage, but it cannot win. And that means that you, yes, you, have a responsibility to rise, to fight, to persevere. Because this is not just about you. Your life is a ripple that spreads far beyond what you can see. When you stand in courage, you inspire others to do the same. When you refuse to back down, you give strength to those who are wavering. So the question is not whether you will face battles. You will. The question is, will you face them with the confidence of someone who knows how the story ends? Or will you let fear steal your purpose, your calling, your life? I urge you, choose to stand, choose to walk forward, choose to believe that no matter what comes against you, no matter how fierce the storm, the victory is already written. And if you truly understand that, then you already know what to do. Keep going, keep fighting, keep the faith, because in the end you win. Life is not a gentle walk through a garden. It is a storm, relentless and unforgiving. At some point, the winds will rise against you, and the waves will crash down with the weight of 1,000 burdens. You will be tested not once, not twice, but over and over again. And in those moments, when everything seems to be falling apart, you will face the ultimate question. Will you stand firm, or will you let the storm break you? There is no avoiding the storm. It comes for everyone. It does not care about your plans, your dreams, or your carefully constructed sense of security. It arrives unannounced, tearing through the foundations of your life, exposing your deepest fears and weaknesses. It comes in the form of loss, in the form of failure, in the form of betrayal, suffering, uncertainty. And when it does, you will be tempted to believe that it is stronger than you, that it will last forever, that there is no way forward. But that is a lie, because here's the truth. Storms do not last. They rage, they threaten, they do everything they can to convince you that they are permanent, but in the end, they pass. And what remains is the person who chose to stand. The person who refused to bend to the fear, to the despair, to the hopelessness. The person who said, I will not be moved. That is what it means to stand firm in the storm. Not to pretend that it doesn't hurt. Not to deny the difficulty. But to anchor yourself so deeply in what is true that no amount of wind, no amount of chaos can uproot you. And what is the truth? It is this. You are not made to be fragile. You are not designed to crumble under pressure. You have within you a strength that is greater than anything the storm can throw at you. But you will never know that strength unless you are tested. And that is why the storm comes, not to destroy you, but to reveal you, to show you what you are capable of, to strip away the illusions and the excuses, to force you to rise to the level of your true potential. Some will not rise. Some will let the storm convince them that they are powerless. They will give in to fear, to doubt, to self-pity. They will allow themselves to be swept away, not because they are weak, but because they chose to believe that they were. That is the real danger, not the storm itself, but the way you think about it. Because the moment you believe that your suffering is bigger than you, the moment you believe that you cannot endure, you have already lost. But what if you believe something different? What if, instead of seeing the storm as the end, you saw it as the beginning? What if you faced your trials not with despair, but with defiance? What if, when life tried to knock you down, you looked it in the eye and said, I will not break? Imagine how powerful that would be. Imagine the kind of person you would become if every time hardship came, you stood a little taller, fought a little harder, refused to give an inch. That is how unshakable faith is built, not in ease, not in comfort, but in the battle. There is a reason why the strongest trees have the deepest roots. They have withstood the storm. They have been battered by wind and rain, season after season, and yet they remain. And because they have endured, they are stronger than they ever were before. You must be the same. You must plant your roots deep, not in shallow, temporary things that can be washed away, but in something eternal, something unmovable. And what is that foundation? It is truth. It is faith. It is the unyielding belief that no matter how hard the storm rages, It will not define you. Do not be afraid, we are told, for I am with you. Do not be discouraged, for I am your God. That is not a suggestion, that is a command. Fear is the enemy, discouragement is the enemy, and the only way to defeat them is to stand firm, to refuse to be shaken, to choose every single day to believe that you are not alone, that you are not without strength, that you were created to endure, to overcome, to rise. So when the storm comes, and it will, do not run, do not hide, do not fall to your knees in despair. Plant your feet, lift your head, face it with the unshakable certainty that you were made for this. And when the winds have died down, when the skies have cleared, when the storm has passed and you are still standing, you will know without a doubt that nothing in this world can break you, because you did not fall, because you refused to be moved, because you stood firm. Life demands something from you. It is not enough to simply exist, to drift through the years without purpose, without direction. You are being called to something higher, something greater, something that requires everything you have. And yet so many people hesitate. They shrink back, afraid to step forward, afraid of what it might cost them. But that is the great tragedy. Not that life is hard, not that it demands sacrifice, but that so many choose to live beneath their potential because they are unwilling to pay the price. Faith is not passive. It is not a vague sense of optimism, a hollow hope that things will magically get better. Faith is action. It is movement. It is the willingness to step forward even when the path is uncertain. It is standing firm when the world pushes back, refusing to bend to fear, refusing to compromise what you know to be true. Faith is the foundation of strength because it is the refusal to be ruled by doubt. And if you do not have faith, you will have nothing to stand on when life tests you, because it will. There will be moments when everything you believe will be challenged, when the easy road will tempt you, when people will mock you, question you, pressure you to abandon what you know is right. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Will you compromise? Will you silence yourself to fit in, to avoid discomfort, to escape the weight of responsibility? Or will you stand unshaken, unafraid, unwavering? That is the test. That is the battle. And it is not a battle you face once. It is a battle you will face every single day. The world will tell you that it is easier to go along with the crowd, that conviction is too heavy a burden, that truth is too rigid, that it is better to be flexible, to adapt, to change with the times. And if you listen to that lie, you will trade everything that matters for the illusion of comfort. Because comfort is an illusion. It does not last. It does not satisfy. And deep down, you will always know that you were meant for more. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, the words ring out, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That is the call, to rise above, to refuse to be shaped by the shifting tides of culture, to stand in truth, even when it costs you, and it will cost you. There is no way to live with conviction without sacrifice. You may lose friendships. You may lose opportunities. You may even lose the approval of the world. But what is that compared to the loss of your own soul? What is that compared to the deep, unshakable peace of knowing that you did not bend, that you did not betray yourself, that you did not trade integrity for acceptance? People spend their lives chasing things that do not matter, desperately seeking approval, validation, success. They pour themselves into careers, into relationships, into material gain, thinking that if they just achieve enough, if they just please enough people, they will finally feel whole. But wholeness does not come from what you gain. It comes from what you refuse to lose. It comes from standing firm when the world shakes, from holding on to what is right, even when it costs you everything. It comes from the courage to be unshakable, unmovable, untouchable by the fleeting opinions of others. And that is the challenge. Will you live with unshakable faith? Will you be the person who does not bend, who does not waver, who does not compromise? Will you dare to live in a way that demands courage, that demands sacrifice, that demands everything you have. Because if you do, you will find something greater than comfort. You will find purpose. You will find strength. You will find the kind of life that cannot be shaken by fear, by loss, by the storms that come. It is not an easy road. It was never meant to be, but it is the only road worth walking, because at the end of it, when everything else fades away, what will matter is not how well you fit in, not how much you gained, not how many people approved of you. What will matter is that you stood firm, that you lived with courage, that you kept the faith, and that you refused, no matter the cost, to be anything less than what you were called to be. The world is filled with suffering. No one escapes it. No one is immune to the weight of loss, of disappointment, of grief. And in those moments, when the darkness presses in, when the pain feels unbearable, it is easy to believe that this is all there is, that life is nothing more than an endless cycle of struggle, of failure, of heartache. But that is not the truth. The truth is that the best is yet to come. The truth is that no matter how deep the suffering, no matter how broken the world seems, there is a greater story unfolding. And if you lose sight of that, if you let yourself be consumed by despair, you will miss the most important thing of all, hope. Hope is not a fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is the most powerful force in existence. It is the refusal to believe that the darkness is final. It is the unwavering certainty that something better is ahead, that no matter how heavy the burdens of today, they are not the end of the story, and that changes everything. Because when you truly believe that the best is yet to come, you live differently. You fight differently. You endure differently. You do not give up in the face of adversity, because you know that beyond the struggle, beyond the pain, beyond everything that seeks to break you, there is something greater waiting for you. But too many people have lost sight of this. They have allowed the weight of the present to blind them to the promise of the future. They have let pain convince them that joy is impossible, that suffering is permanent. And when you believe that, you stop moving forward. You settle, you shrink, you accept a version of life that is far less than what was meant for you. That is the tragedy, not that suffering exists, but that so many let it define them. There is a reason why we are told to persevere, why we are reminded over and over again to hold on, to keep the faith, to press forward. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That is not just a comforting thought, it is a call to endurance. It is a command to refuse to let temporary suffering shape permanent belief. Because the night does not last forever. The storm does not rage indefinitely. And the people who understand that are the ones who refuse to break. You have a choice. You can let your pain tell you that life is meaningless, that you are trapped, that things will never change. Or you can look it in the face and say, this will not be my end. You can decide that no matter what you have lost, no matter how much you have suffered, you will not live in defeat, that you will keep moving forward, not because it is easy, not because the road is smooth, but because you know that something better is ahead. That is what hope does. It lifts your eyes from the ground, from the struggle, from the wounds of the past, and it fixes them on what is to come. And do not misunderstand. This is not about blind optimism. It is not about ignoring reality, pretending that things are fine when they are not. It is about choosing to believe that reality itself is not finished, that your story is not over, that the suffering of today does not dictate the joy of tomorrow. It is about knowing that even in the midst of struggle, even in the darkest nights, you are walking towards something greater. But you must you must refuse to be paralyzed by fear, by bitterness, by despair. You must reject the lie that says, this is all there is, because it is not. The best is yet to come. That is the truth. And if you anchor yourself in that truth, if you let it guide your steps, then nothing, no loss, no failure, no pain will ever be able to stop you. You will endure. You will overcome, and one day you will look back on the struggles that once seemed unbearable and see them for what they were, the path that led you to something greater.